Today we have Damien McVeigh from Mates in Construction / Mates in Mining.
Just to give your listeners a heads up, like, I will be talking about suicide.
Yep.
All right. If anybody's being impacted by the content or anything that I say, look, Mates in Mining, Mates in Construction have a 24-hour support line. All right. It's 1300-642-111. And he came into my side office that day, and I remember where you were sitting. I remember where he sat down and he goes, "Damo, can I have a chat?" And I goes, "Yeah, what's up?" And he was like, "I can't do this anymore." And he goes, "Do what?" And he goes, "Life."
Oh.
Yeah, and I goes, "What do you mean?" He said, "It's just so hard."
Is that what you said to him?
Yeah, didn't know any different. And he goes, "You're really not getting this, aren't you now?" And I was, "Getting what?" I said, "Don't worry about it." And he went to walk out of the side office, and just before he stepped out, he looked around at me and he goes, "It's all good, Damo. I'm going to fix it this weekend." And my guts just somersaulted. He goes, "Oh, none of this makes sense." Just kind of cracked on with it, but then a few months later, I realised this industry is not for me anymore. I need to get out of it. So it was slowly just chewing me up. Shit.
You're right, mate. You're right. Because I've seen this. I've seen this before. You know, the industry, the mining industry. This is why.
You don't remember me, do you? And I goes, I do remember you.
Wow.
And he stood up and he goes, "Guys, come in here." And he goes, "If it wasn't for him in 2017, I wouldn't be alive."
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome story,
Isn't
mate.
it? Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Well done.
all our guys have got like heaps of these things. So that one story means I've done my
I can
job.
see that means something to you. I like that. That's a good story.
Good, isn't it?
Welcome back to another episode on the Gold Room podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have Damien McVeigh from Mates in Construction / Mates in Mining. Damien, thanks very much for coming and joining me, mate.
Awesome, Josh. Thank you for having me. And how this all came about was from a few weeks ago. You had a guest on, Mr. Andrew Stanbury from the Mars program. So he done an interview. It was an awesome interview, and he asked me, "Have you spoke to Josh Collins from the Gold Room podcast?" And I said, "I haven't. Let's reach out to him, see what we can do." So, Andrew Stanbury, if you're listening, thank you.
Mate, thank you. And thanks, Andrew. Awesome bloke. Awesome story, and what they're doing inside the government and supporting organisations such as yourself.
Good.
It's so important.
That Mars program, the mental awareness, respect and safety, without their support, Mates in Mining in Western Australia wouldn't be here. So we're very fortunate over the last few years that they have funded us, which getting us boots on ground, getting us out into the mining industry. And over the last few years, we have trained probably close to 4,000 people in the mining space, and we've supported hundreds of people in the mining space as well. And that's due to the Mars program and the likes of Andrew Stanbury and his team as well. So good on them. And thank you for all your support and keep it coming.
Beautiful. Mate, so before we get into Mates in Mining, we always start each episode with the life and the times. Mm-hmm. So let's get into yours.
Beautiful. Happy days. You can hear by my accent, I'm not from Malaga. All right. I'm not from Perth either. So I am from Ireland.
What part, mate?
I'm from a little place called Coal Island, just outside it, and that's in County Tyrone, which is about 1 hour from Belfast. So a very, very small rural area.
Northern Irish,
yeah. So it's got a population of about 3,000 odd people. So I've got 3 sisters, 2 brothers, mum and dad. So we live way out in the bush. So just a hard-working, honest family. So how I got here type thing is, I've always loved construction. My old man's a builder, still is to this day. He's in his mid-70s, and you kind of need to shoot him to stop him. But yeah, he's a residential builder. My brother next to me, he's 3 years up. He's a chippy with my old man. He's been doing that since he was 15. He's been doing that 30 years. He's been doing it. I used to work with my old man, so there's photographs of me getting around at home when I was 3 or 4 years of age. Because the youngest out of 6 kids, vacation care wasn't an option, but free, cheap labour was. So I got punted out onto a construction site at a very tender age, but had very fond memories of it. I remember sitting in the back of the van with these hairy-ass bricklayers, them playing cards, smoking ciggies, and me stuck in the middle of it. And yeah, just loved it. Absolutely loved going to work with my dad.
Awesome.
And just hanging out with the old people.
How old do you reckon you were?
I was young, probably 5, 6, 7. So it was. And I was just messing around. I thought I was helping me old man, but I was getting in the way more than anything. But
you were learning that.
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then it's my mother still does the invoicing for me old man and stuff like that as well. So it's a bit of a family trait. So that's how it kept me in construction, took me to Australia.
What was your trade? You do a trade?
I didn't do a trade. Just lots of exposure in the construction industry. I was bits of everything in the resi space. I had a crack at studying construction engineering. I've done more drinking and carrying on than, than anything else. But
it's the Irish blood, mate.
It is indeed. But yeah, I just loved seeing my old man, how he interacted with people. It was beautiful. It was awesome to see. So, and I've always said it, and I remember I was very fortunate. Made my father cry at my wedding, and I said, like, if I ever turn out to be half the man he is,
beautiful,
I'll be happy with that.
Yep.
But just the interaction, that's the bit I loved about construction, and even just the problem solving, dealing with people, dealing with other people, and I've always loved that side of things. Just having that one-on-one ability to talk to people and work with them and problem solve.
Certainly help you in your role now.
Oh yeah.
So you mentioned wife. Any children?
Yes, I do indeed. So met my wife. That's
Irish.
Oh yes, of course.
Where'd you meet?
Came to Brisbane. Came the whole way to Australia. There was a group of 8 of us came to Australia in 2007.
Yep.
Came as a dirty backpacker for 6 months and nearly 20 years now in Australia. So yeah, my wife met her in Brisbane. She lives 2.5 hours from me in Ireland. So could have saved the money on a flight, but there you go. We're here now, and we've got a 7.5-year-old son. His name is Oscar. So he's a very cool little dude. So
awesome.
So a little nod to him as well.
Yeah, beautiful.
He's never called me daddy in his life. He just calls me Damo. So
does he?
great fun sitting at the park when your son goes, Damo, Mummy, do you want to come for a kick? I'm actually his father and her husband, right? I'm not just a blow in here. Yeah, so I am his dad, all right. So just the 3 of us here in Perth, and that's the only family we've got here in Perth. So beautiful. In Australia.
So mate, your construction roles once you got to Australia. Let's get into that.
Yep. So I came to Australia when I was 21. So we were looking to do the backpacking thing. Turns out I wasn't very good at backpacking. I flew to Melbourne, arrived in Melbourne, and my first job was putting up marquees. So it was, and I done it for the Melbourne Cup. I was getting paid $18 an hour, and coming from a small country town, I think my old man was ripping me off at that stage. Getting $18 an hour, and I was like, oh wow, look at all this money. I'm doing a great job here. But yeah, done that for a few months, and then I went to Brisbane, and I was working in civil construction. So part of the construction industry that always fascinated me when I was working with my old man, because he was a resident. My father is a residential builder. He would do everything. You would do absolutely everything. You would take ownership of the site. You would get the earth moving machines in. You would clear all the dirt. You would dig the footings. You'd pour the concrete. You get the brickies in. So you're involved in every single aspect of building a house, and that's putting on the gutters, putting in the windows, stacking the roofs, putting slates on, absolutely everything. Part of the industry that I loved was plant and machinery. I don't know what it was. I was just fascinated by it. I loved jumping in the dozers, playing in an excavator, doing stuff like that. So very, very fascinated with all that type of thing. And I was always loved being in the trenches, putting pipes in, pouring concrete, doing stuff like that. So that part of the industry fascinated me. I wasn't too sure what I was going to do after school, so I never went. A trade wasn't on my radar, so it wasn't. But just chipping away with my old man, working and having a crack at that construction engineering type thing, that was. So I was just chipping away doing that. Came to Australia when I was 21. Went to Brisbane in March 2008, and a friend of mine got me a job working with Brisbane City Council. So we were doing a road out to a bus depot out in Willawong at that stage. So it's called the 2AC, like a second in command to the supervisor.
Yep.
His name was John Peach, and he taught me so much when I was out there. He was just amazing to work with. And then he had moved to another project, and he kind of said, yo, Damo, can you look after this project? I was like, I'm only just off an airplane 8 months ago, and you're getting me to look after a project. And I was really, really fortunate. I had a machine operator. His name was Kevin Trainer. He was from Ireland, and he taught me so much about the legislation, the regulations, and how to do the drainage, how to do culverts, how to pour concrete, and how to build roads. He taught me so much in that short period of time I was there. But then I inherited that project as a supervisor, and had a small team of probably a dozen people, and it was only at that stage I turned 22. Wow. And I was running a project, and I was like, I've never done this before in my life type thing. And then it just kept going. Brisbane City Council, and he said, Damo, bring your crew over to the next project, and I just kept running crews, and that was it. And I loved getting in the trenches, pouring concrete, operating machines, and then Yeah, I stayed with Brisbane City Council for 5 years, and then I got a job as another supervisor for a civil construction company, and that's where I started doing drive in, drive out, and fly in, fly out, managing large projects up to a couple of hundred people. So that plant machinery, drainage, concrete, all that, loved all that side of things. So yeah.
So, mate, what did those times as a supervisor teach you about resilience and how to talk to people, how to get that personal approach?
As a supervisor, and this may come up through the story as well, I was a buffhead. I was an absolute peanut. So I thought I had to be one of those supervisors who had to roar, shout, lead with intimidation, threaten and stuff like that. In the early years of it, I was all about the people. That's what my father taught me. Talk to the people, deal with the people, problem solve with the people around you. So the first probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years leading crews, that's what I was doing. I was dealing with people. I was talking to them as a person, so I was, and I was saying, like, tell me your ideas, like proper leadership, actually bringing your team with you and getting them to look out the window with you. And then once I got when I moved to Perth, I turned into a supervisor who I never wanted to be. That person who roared, shouted, was aggressive, was angry, and just threatened people. And
I've seen it myself. I've seen these type of blokes on mine sites.
Yeah, I was that bloke. So I was, and it just wasn't who I was. So going back now, hindsight is a beautiful, wonderful thing. What my father taught me about the people side of things was awesome, and but there was for a short period, probably about 3 or 4 years, where I lost that, and that's where I turned into somebody who it didn't want to be. So that resilience and stuff like that is that ability to problem solve and doing all that. Yeah, you have to bounce back. You've got concrete coming at 9 o'clock. Yeah, it's not coming. Stuck in traffic, whatever. Oh, you have to bounce back. You have to do something different. You have to problem solve on your feet pretty quick. But there's a part of it that I lost was the people side of things. You know, we would all love to be squillionaires sitting on the beach drinking beers, stuff, but we have to work. So that's where you need to engage with the person, talk to the person, help the person, and do it as a team type thing. And I had lost that for a few years. So you're talking about resilience. People always talk about how do you build resilience, but how do you maintain resilience as well? Like, how do you keep on top of that? Yep. So that aspect of the people side of things, I lost that. So that resilience has came back to me now as a leader. I've got a team of probably 12 people, where the last 8 years with mates in construction, mates in mining, my big focus is people, either people in my crew or people in the industry. So there was a bit that was missing, but now I've got it back again.
Beautiful. Mate, great segue. What led you to Mates in Construction?
Yeah, awesome.
How did you get there?
Just to give your listeners a heads up, look, I will be talking about suicide. Yep. All right. If anybody's being impacted by the content or anything that I say, look, Mates in Mining, Mates in Construction have a 24-hour support line. All right, it's 1300-642-111. So it's 1300-642-111.
We'll chuck the number in the description, and also when we throw this up.
Awesome.
on LinkedIn and wherever else.
There's no graphic content, and I won't be talking about names or means or methods or locations or anything like that. But it's just giving people the heads up that there's support out there for them. So I had lost when I stepped away from Mates in Construction or from the industry to get into construction. It was January 2017. I had an absolute gutful of the industry. So I had a 3 or 4 day Christmas break, and it was stinking hot, and I was going back to finish a project, and I only had a small break because I had to finish the job. I was the superintendent, and that's when I was smoking. I used to smoke at the time, and I remember driving along the Graham Farmer Freeway. I was going through the tunnel, and I was sitting smoking ciggies out of the driver's seat, and it was about 5 o'clock in the morning. I had a terrible night's sleep because it was stinking hot, and I was just tired, and I just realised I do not want to be in this industry anymore. I'm just done with it. I got to the project that I was working on, and I went to open the gate, and one of the subcontractors came up and he goes, "Oh, Damo, have we got concrete coming? The pump is coming. What time is that coming? What time have you booked concrete? We didn't get it poured before the break there." And I lost the head. And goes, "You were supposed to book the concrete. You were supposed to get the pump. This sounds like a you problem, not me. Go away, leave me alone, and just go away. It's 5 o'clock.
I don't reckon you would have said go away.
No, there was a few colourful words put in there, but that's my product disclaimer. And then that's okay. Walked in and I opened up my side office, and then an electrical contractor came up, and said, Damo,
Would have been a great guy.
where's the conduits? Where's the conduits? We need to get the conduits in the ground. What time are they coming? And he goes, oh, you goose. You're supposed to organise the conduit, not me. And I said, it's not even 6 o'clock and 2. You dickheads have cornered me already. Go away, will you? And I just sat there and just realised this industry isn't for me. So leading up to that, I had lost 3 people to suicide in the industry in 3 years. And I started falling out of love with the industry quite a bit. So one of the last people who lost to suicide, I was doing a project in Perth, and this person, I knew he was struggling. He had a few dramas going on in his life, and I knew he was really struggling with this. I didn't know what to do at that time. I didn't think I had the skills to do anything about it, so I done nothing. But I noticed that his quality of work started to nose drop as well. So me being a big tough supervisor who leads by intimidation and threatening, I went up and said to the person, you need to sort this out or you're down the road. I'm going to give you the sack. I was right. And then I noticed that he started to drink pretty heavily and stuff like that as well. I'd seen all this unfolding, but I didn't think I had the skills what to do. So I turned around and said to him, you know what you need to do? Sort it out or you're down the road. I'll give you your last warning. Sort it out. And he came into my side office that day, and I remember where you were sitting. I remember where he sat down and he goes, Damo, can I have a chat? And I goes, yeah, what's up? And he goes, I can't do this anymore. And he goes, do what? And he goes, life.
Oh.
And I goes, what do you mean? He said, it's just so hard. He said, everything I'm putting my hands to at the moment is just turning to mud, and I'm really, really struggling. And I goes, do you know what you need to do? You need to go out this weekend and get drunk and have fun.
Is that what you said to him?
Yeah. Didn't know any different. And he goes, you're really not getting this, aren't you now? And I was getting what? He said, don't worry about it. And he went to walk out of the side office, and just before he stepped out, he looked around at me, he goes, it's all good, Damo, I'm going to fix it this weekend. And my guts just somersault, and he goes, oh, none of this makes sense. None of this is making any sense. I know he's struggling. I tried to fix his problems, but he said he's got it fixed.
With the Irish way.
Yeah. And I goes, oh, yeah, enjoy your weekend. I thought you'd have it sorted. I let him go.
I don't like where the story's going.
Nah. So all weekend I sat with gut instinct and was screaming at me, just ring him, just check in, see how he's going. I ignored it for 3 full days. Monday morning came, I rocked up for work, he didn't. Yeah. So then fast forward a couple of months later, sorry.
How did you deal with that personally? Knowing that little that you didn't have a part to play in that, but knowing that you could have said something.
Being open and honest, how I used to conduct myself and I'm very open about this, how I used to conduct myself as a site manager by threatening, intimidation, roaring and shouting, I potentially could have caused a few suicides in my time. How I used to do that.
It's a big call.
So yeah, when I found out that news, buried it, and stopped at Dan Murphy's. Jimmy, Jack, and John helped me out. So being typical bloke, didn't tell anybody that I was struggling with it, done nothing like that, and just kind of cracked on with it. But then a few months later, I realised this industry is not for me anymore. I need to get out of it. So it was slowly just chewing me up. Shit.
You're right, mate. You're right. Because I've seen this. I've seen this before. You know, the industry, the mining industry. This is why I think, you know, like when we sat down and spoke, this is why you are perfect for this role.
Thank you.
You really are. You really are, because it's all very well going and studying something, but unless you've actually had those feelings, you know, behaviours that may have been at play or you've spoken to, you've seen. It's all very well to come into any industry and say, well, you know, I think I know. But if you actually have that feeling and you've seen it, you've been there, you've done that, and, you know, even the coping mechanisms of the drinking and the drugs that people partake in. But on that as coping mechanisms. You know?
Like, and that hindsight is a wonderful thing. Now I reflect back on that. That was nearly 10 years ago. I don't know if I ever could have saved his life back then.
You wouldn't if he'd made that decision.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There was always that opportunity. I could have possibly, but I will never know. He could have been in so much pain, and that's what people don't understand. Like, suicide is about pain. People are sitting in so much pain, and they feel that their only option is to end their life. That's why we want to get rid of the pain. It's not that they want to leave their family members and their friends and their supports behind. They just want to get rid of the pain. That person could have been in so much pain. I may not have been able. And I used to say a thing called, that's my cross to carry. That's my guilt.
Cross to carry.
Yeah. And
Sorry,
then,
mate, it's the bloody accent.
Yeah, no, it's the thick Aussie one. And that's what you say, the cross to carry. That's my cross to carry. And there was one of my work colleagues stood me up and he goes, Damo, it's not. He said, you will never know if you could have saved his life.
Exactly.
So, look, it's, yeah, and I use that, as you said, as a fuel moving forward so I can support those around me and people who I come in contact with and stuff like that as well. Learn from my mistakes. And every day I suffer the shoulda, woulda, couldas and do all that. But look, unfortunately, I can't change the past.
No, you can't. So from, you mentioned that one bloke.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple of others, similar circumstances.
Yep. So I've lost friends, lost family members, lost work colleagues. That little area that I grew up in Ireland that I mentioned, and the reason why I always mention that is there's a lot of suicides around that area. Don't know what it is. So I grew up with that typical attitude when somebody dies by suicide. You're weak. You're selfish. Because I didn't understand it until I realised that it's about pain. They wanted to get rid of whatever mental or emotional pain they're in. They're not selfish. Yes, they're leaving behind friends and family members, but at that time, they're struggling. They're in so much pain. So, yeah, so I grew up being exposed to suicide, losing people and stuff like that. And then those last 3 years in construction, there was that person, a fellow who I worked with. Unfortunately, he had his battles over the years with addictions and stuff like that. And this is when I had moved to Western Australia. I found out that person, he was from Queensland. And I found out that he had took his life. And I don't know what happened because we'd lost contact over a few years. But previously, before that, he had suffered with addiction battles and stuff like that. And then this is the one when I told you I may have caused a few suicides in my time. I remember clear as day I was doing a project in Perth. And there's one person. He was a labour hire person and he was on his phone. He was always on his phone. Every time I looked around, he was on his phone. And I remember just giving him an absolute spray. He said, get off that phone or it's going somewhere. You've got a job to do. Get in the trenches with the guys. Go get the job going. And one of the machine operators came up to me and he goes, Damien, cut him a bit of slack. And I goes, why am I cutting him a bit of slack? And he goes, he's going through some child custody disputes. And I goes, sounds like a him problem, not a me problem. He needs to do his job. I'm paying him to do a job. Get back in the trenches. And
you've also got a job to run. You've got a start date, a completion date.
That's where I had lost the people side of things. I lost how to talk to people, engage with them, and actually just going across. What's going on? Are you all right? Tell me what's happening. It's like, I just need a bit of time to sort out this child custody dispute or whatever. Yeah, go for it, Rippin. Go for it. Let me know what you need. I would have supported them through that, but instead I went the opposite way. Like, get the job done. Production, money. Got about the people. People build the jobs.
Yeah. So, look, those incidents is what shaped you to today.
Yep.
Also, what led you to Mates in Construction. So let's get into Mates in Construction and then obviously Mates in Mining come thereafter. Yep. So who started Mates in Construction?
As a plumber started Mates in Construction, a fella called Jürgen Gulstrop over in, he's not from Australia either, just in case you didn't pick up with that name.
I got that.
There's a couple of umlauts over and over there as well. So yeah. So Jürgen is a plumber was a plumber over in Queensland, and we're going on 20 years now. I think it was 2008 that we started.
Awesome.
So very humble beginning, started as a plumber. Jürgen had been impacted by suicide, so he had by one of his work colleagues, and he was asked a few pointed questions by a work colleague's family members, and like, did you know you spend more time at work than you do at home with your loved ones? Did nobody see he was struggling because you spent so long at work? And he goes, you do know our girls are going to grow up without a daddy now. And he just like, wow, this conversation was not supposed to happen like this. So he walked away thinking, how many of these conversations is actually happening across all of Australia? So then they went, and there was an organisation called BERT, which is the Building Employee Redundancy Trust Fund. So it's a redundancy body in construction over in Queensland. So they had facts and figures in their desk that close to a quarter of all deaths within the Queensland construction industry was by suicide. And there was a commission done at that time by Commissioner Terence Cole, and in his commissioner's investigation, he got those figures across his desk. Close to a quarter of deaths were by suicide, and he put a challenge out to the construction industry. Who's going to do something about this? This is unacceptable. So Jürgen had just had that difficult conversation. The challenge was put out, and Jürgen goes, I'll take that challenge up. I'm going to do something about it. So he went and he rattled the tin, and he talked to employers, he talked to government, local government, state government, he talked to industry bodies, anybody who'd listen to him, raise some funds and got it going. And then he went to an organisation called ASROP, which is the Australian Institute of Suicide Research and Prevention. It's based in Griffith University. Chucked him a heap load of money and just said, can you take a look at the suicide rate within the construction industry and see if it's fair dinkum?
So he rattled the tin, got enough money together.
And just started doing research and started get it off the ground and got it going. Plumber.
Wow.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? And now, since he started it nearly 20 years ago, I started in Queensland. We're in Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia, Northern Territory, Western Australia.
That little island off the coast of Tasmania?
Yeah.
New Zealand?
New Zealand, we're in there. We've been there 7 years.
Oh, wow.
We started up in Auckland. So now we've got an office in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, and they're just going from strength to strength to strength over there. And just recently, we've started over in the United States as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're going hard out. 2026, we're going to see a stronger presence in the United States as well. Had a crack over in the UK, but there was a wonderful thing called COVID, put the handbrake on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's very humble beginnings from a plumber. So that's how Jorgen Goldstrap started it. So Jorgen,
Where is he now?
So Jorgen was started Queensland, got all over the world, and then he was Queensland CEO, and then he went into national CEO. But then he went back to Queensland CEO, but then he retired a few years ago. He had done his bit. It's kind of like he got the baby so far, the baby has to go by itself. So himself and a fella called John Brady done some beautiful, amazing work. Got it to a stage and he was looking to retire. So Jorgen is actually a suicidologist, which means he specialises in suicide. So he does, and he knows the ins and outs about suicide ideation, how people can come compromised, just everything. He's a world of knowledge.
Wow.
So he retired. So
where does he live?
He lives in Brizzy. So he does. So then there was a national CEO took the reins. His name was Chris Lockwood. He done it there for 7 years. Done an absolutely amazing, beautiful job. So he did set us up across the country and New Zealand. Done fantastic. And then last year, Chris stepped down as CEO, just resigned. But then Jorgen has came back as the national CEO. Because we're starting over in the United States, this is going to be an animal of a project, and no better person to start mates in construction, mates in a new country than the fellow who started it all. So it's very exciting times where we're at, and to have him back into the fold, that wealth of knowledge, he's just, he's an amazing human being. And when he talks, you listen, because his background is a plumber. So and he called himself a baggy ass plumber from Queensland. And he's just a very cool dude. And once again, his passion is still people, and 20 years later, he still got it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Isn't it?
Passion makes up for a lot, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. They don't teach you that. So anyway, that's how it started as mates in construction. So what we do is ultimately what our goal is not to have a job. We do not want to be employed. Right? We want to make ourselves redundant. And we do that by started off by getting out onto construction sites, and it's a multi-model peer support program. So our aim is to upskill the industry and leave it in a better place than we do it through education programs. So the first stage of our program is called the General Awareness Talk, which is about 45 minutes as we give facts, figures, statistics of what's going on within our industry, but also what's happening across the wider community in Australia. In the back half of that training session, we give really basic skills so the people can see if a workmate or loved one is struggling and maybe thinking about suicide, and like a little bit of a call to action, like normalising help seeking and help offering ability and just kicking into gear.
Would you say that anyone who is considering or thinking about suicide, are they actively out there telling people?
So this is what we give the skills for. All right. So in those training sessions, we give the skills. I'll actually explain the program, then I'll come back to that. All right. So the General Awareness Talk, that's the 45-minute where you give basic skills. And then the group will self-nominate to go into the second stage, which is a 4-hour connector training. Embedded in that training session is a program called Safe Talk, which is designed by an organisation called Living Works. So they're a Canadian-based organisation. They've got over 40 years research in suicide prevention. They're global leaders in the spot. We work really closely with them. So they've got the Safe Talk, and then we make it, we put little bits to it, and we call it a connector training. So that's the start of your peer support. So I've noticed this person is doing it tough. I don't think I have the skills to have that conversation or the confidence. Yo, Josh, you've done that connector training. Can you go have a chat with home mate? They're hitting the piss pretty hard. They're not fronting up for work. They just don't see in themselves. So that connector, that peer support will go across, have those difficult conversations, ask directly about suicide, keep the person safe while connecting them into help. So that's a 4-hour session. And then at the end of that session, The participants will volunteer if they want to go into a 2-day course, which is ASIST, which stands for Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. Also designed by that Living Works and the Canadian-based organisation. That's global best practice when it comes to suicide intervention. So this person has said, yes, they are thinking about suicide. We'll go get one of these ASIST trained people and they'll do a full-blown suicide intervention right there on the spot. So that's our program. That's how we want to upskill the industry and leave it in a better place than we found it by educating the industry. So going back to your question, if people are struggling with thoughts of suicide, do they ask for help? Do they show signs? The majority of the time, yes. So they give out a thing called invitations, all right? So an invitation is a sign that they're not traveling well. So they could be drinking, turning up late for work, blowing shifts, getting aggressive, getting angry, maybe even becoming happy, becoming isolated, becoming withdrawn, weight gain, weight loss. Maybe used to be clean shaved. Now all of a sudden they're becoming a bit scraggy. You look good, but you can pull it off.
Thanks, man.
All right, and we'll have a chat later. But so their invitation, so it's a change in their normal behaviour, and maybe some of the words they're saying as well is kind of like, oh, I'm over this. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like that person, when I told you my story, it's all good, Damian. There's something I'm going to do this weekend. It's going to fix it.
Wild.
Yeah. So, like, for example, that story that I told you, he had a big problem outside of work. His quality of work started to drop and he was drinking pretty hard. And then he came out with a statement, it's all good, Damian. I'm going to fix it this weekend. And my gut instinct was somersaulting at that stage. That's another major indicator, your gut instinct. That's your intuition telling you, something's not right. And that's from your life experiences that teach you that as well. Yeah. So if people are struggling, majority of people, there is some people who put up the wall and are really good at hiding it. They do give out those invitations. They're asking for help without actually asking for help. And there is some people who will come out and just say, look, I'm struggling. I need your help, which is pretty good. We want everybody to be doing that. We just want to normalize help-seeking abilities. We're saying, like, just putting your hand up, asking for help. It's not a sign of weakness. You're not soft or anything like that. It's actually a sign of strength. And that's where we have our 24-hour support number, which I spoke about earlier. Yep. And we also have a case management service as well, which is one-on-one case management for people in the industry and their family members. So it's construction or mining, manufacturing or energy. Yep. So if there's anybody in the community struggling, ring us. All right. There's no wrong doors, guys. All right. And our case managers will work with the people. Whatever the issues is, drugs, alcohol, relationships, compromise, mental health, finances, whatever the problems, reach out to us. We're very grateful that our case management is funded by the Mental Health Commission, which is WA government. Wow, so awesome. They support us, and we support close to 500 people in our industry every year here locally in Western Australia. And so it's all free and it's confidential, great. And we don't. So
it's obviously working. It's obviously being used.
And there's the nod to the past. When I first started 8.5 years ago, we used to be based in East Perth, and there's me and another field officer. So we'd be sitting in the office, and the phone would ring. I was like, who's ringing us? Why are they ringing us for? It used to scare the life out of us. At that stage, we were training a couple of thousand people a year, and we were supporting maybe 100 people. Last June 25, there, end of the financial year, we delivered our training to 11,500 people, and we supported just under 500 people. Awesome. In the space of 8 years. It shows that it's there, and it's...
I like the training people aspect.
It is.
And that's how, I think, yeah.
And so that's that community development. So how Mates came about is community development. My community is the construction or mining industry. Your community is your job sites. Your community is your company. Yeah. So it's about community development and strengthening that community and making it a suicide safer community by giving you the skills, not me patting you in the bum, giving you the skills. So that's how we started off as Mates in construction. And then we actually looked at it and said, wow, this is actually really relevant in different sectors. So then that's what brought us into Mates in mining, because it's another community. We've also got Mates in manufacturing, and we've also got Mates in energy as well, because they're all separate communities. And that's where we go out to these communities to strengthen them and making them suicide safer communities.
What do you think are some of the challenges or differences that you've seen from construction to mining?
Yep. So I'm fortunate. I've worked on the city block. I've done drive in, drive out, and I've done fly in, fly out. So, and this was all civil construction. So I've been exposed to those different ones. In the city block, you get up when it's dark and you get home when it's dark. So you're usually out the door pretty early for like a 6:30 pre-start or whatever it is. And then by the time you pack up and get home, it's 5:30, 6:30, whatever it is. So in the city block, it's busy. It's just in the city block, all right? This is city block on, say, the FIFO scenario. Drugs and alcohol and finances are big issues out there. All right, the problems are the exact same. So they are. The only difference, see, when you introduce FIFO in there, you've got layers of isolation. So you're out in the bush and you've maybe got limited phone reception.
Yeah.
You've got limited social support. You've got limited professional support. And we just had a chat with your mate who was in here earlier. And we just, before you were in getting washed, we had a chat because he's looking ripped. He's looking stacked. What was his name?
Rowan Pine.
Yeah, no,
he's a big boy.
He's looking stacked.
Yeah.
And he's only been
hopefully he doesn't watch this. He'd love that.
Yeah, and he's only on his third swing as well.
And new, fresh.
Yeah,
he's lucky enough. Another Kiwi come over to this great country of ours, awesome. And into mine. He's working underground. Driving a truck. Hasn't crashed it into a wall yet.
He looks like he knows what he's doing.
It looks like he may do that in the future.
Yeah, but I was just chatting to him when I was doing FIFO. The couple of things that I noticed is you finish up work, you do your 12-hour shift or whatever it is. You've got a couple of options: either go to the wet mess, have a couple of beers, or go to the gym and get stacked like him. Yeah, he took option B.
Yep.
But a lot of people, I'm not saying this happens all the time, there's probably now mine sites are doing a lot better, so they are at providing different events and stuff like that in the evenings. But if you're leaning just towards the alcohol and stuff like that, and you're doing a 12-hour shift, you're fatigued, you're drinking more, you're drinking
dehydrated, and you got 6 cannies at the end of the day.
Yeah, all that comes into play, so it does as well. So once you introduce that FIFO lifestyle, those layers of isolation and those limited supports and even the limited entertainment, what you can do in that space, well, like it's either gym or wet mess. What else can you go? Can I go for a walk with my mates or catch up with my mates? No, you can't because you're in the middle of the bush.
There's some bloody ripper sites out there. Mineral Resources got pools. Mineral Resources is, some of those sites. They're leading the charge. There's some awesome sites.
Yeah, there is. And I was at one and I got a really bad rap in the press several years ago. The South Flank project, we were on that in construction.
Is that with that 60 minutes bloody expose?
It was. And I looked at that. Look, the sexual assaults and stuff like that should never happen. That's just bang out order, right? And we all agree on that. But for that camp to get a bad rap like that and showing all the empty tins on the table and stuff like that.
It's media though, isn't it, mate? They just want to wind it right up.
They've got a job to do, but I was fascinated with that campsite. There was a walking track the whole way around it, and they had exercise stations outside, dotted around it. Downstairs there was a full library, and beside the library there was a live music venue where you could, if you wanted to jam, bring your guitar, set up your speakers, and have a yarn and play music. You had the opportunity to do so. Around the corner from that, there was kitchen setups where they were doing masterclass kitchen cooking classes where the chef would come down. All this stuff, and they weren't utilised. None of this got mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say, why not throw some of that awesome stuff out there?
And they brought in financial advisors and stuff like that for once you're finished your shift, if you wanted to talk about your finances and stuff and where to put your money. Once again, didn't get any acknowledgement. There was a golf simulator. There was swimming pools. There was footy.
Some of those.
There's all that. And then where the wet mess was, just further on up, there was a 3-story hospitality venue with zero alcohol. So if you wanted to go catch up with your mates and have a feed and stuff, there was like a wood fire pizza. There was a burger joint and all this. It was top of the range.
How many people on that site?
Oh, during construction there was about 6,000 people. But they were using Mulla, and then there was, I think it was Saddleback or Saddle Camp up at the top of the hill as well. But that camp was off its head. It was absolutely amazing. So it was like the facilities that they produced for the workers. And Minraes now is stepping it up again. It's so good. And then I was up in Karratha 2 weeks ago for the construction of the Perdaman project as well. Our escort took us on to camp, and we said, "Oh, we staying in like the big 4 in town type thing?" And she goes, "No, what do you mean? Is this a camp like a holiday villa resort?" And she goes, "No, this is our camp." This thing was off its head as well. Like a full big swimming pool, and you were close to town, and there's a walking track in around it. Out the back, it was like dirt tracks if you wanted to go walking and stuff like that as well. It was absolutely bananas. It was so good. So the standard is getting better, and I think organizations
make things easier for like that because you're away. You work with your workmates for more than you're with your family.
Yep.
You come back to Perth and your kids go off to school, or your partner, if you have one, is off to work.
Yeah.
And so if you're on a roster,
you want something to do. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's it's a home away from home, and to make things easier for for everyone.
Yep.
So I like that. Yeah, there are some good companies doing the right thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's lots of other mining companies that are that are wanting to do the right thing, but maybe financial constraints in place and things like that, which you just you've got to be understanding about.
Yeah, you have to be that. You'd all love top of the range stuff, but it all comes at a cost.
So we've gone over FIFO, how it can affect people working from, like families and finances and everything. Can you share a time with some real conversations? Obviously, no names, no places, where you or members of the team have helped some people at risk.
Awesome. Really fortunate that I've got unbelievable, passionate team. So that's a tip and nod of the hat to all those guys there.
You said 12, right? 12 in your team?
Well, there's more than that. So we've got 8 field officers, 4 case managers, and then there's the CEO, the big G's, Liam, who's doing an amazing job driving the ship. He's doing a fantastic job. And then we've got Roseanne, Sarah, and Ems in there too. And then Sinead's doing our marketing and events. So we're 16, 17 all up.
Okay.
For not-for-profit, we're not huge, but we're highly effective and we're highly passionate as well. So our case management team, you've got Rudy, who's an ex-scaffolder. His claim to fame is
he married?
He looks like one. He's not, and he's probably the smallest scaffolder you're ever going to meet in your life. And he reckons all the tonnage has squashed him down when he is lifting it.
Compressed the spine,
isn't it? Yeah, but his claim to fame is he done the scaffolding on the BHP tower, and he had to do. He tells me these things. I'm not a scaffolder. I go horizontal and not vertical. But he done a droppy from the 25th thing where you have to build a cantilever scaffold out, and he dropped down to build scaffold. I said, "Oh yeah, that sounds cool. Did you do it with a digger?" type of thing. But yeah, so he's one of our, and he spent years doing FIFO. He was the 6 weeks on, 1 week off brigade.
That's horrific construction roster.
Yeah, so he done that, and then we've got our other case manager, Ali. Ali's from Newcastle, England. She spent years working out in the prisons and stuff like that, supporting the prisoners and doing all the welfare programs, which is very cool. And then we've got Georgia, who just recently came on board with us 6 months ago. She's got a degree in psychology and criminology, but she used to work with civil construction companies. So she's in with us and doing an amazing job. And then our field officer team, we've got Josh, our senior field officer. His background, he's a scaffolder as well. He does look like a barista who should be living in Fremont or something.
Really?
But he was a barista.
Is it the hair?
It was the hair, it was the chest tattoo, it was the arm sleeve.
Oh,
wow. The whole barista look. The body done good.
Does he make a mean coffee?
No, he drinks soy latte with a dash of honey.
Okay.
We've all got one in every team. It's okay.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't. We've got black coffees, just black coffees.
That's all right. But he's doing an awesome job in there, leading that team. And we've got Leon, who's an ex-ceiling fixer, who came on board with us 3 years ago, doing amazing, beautiful work with the apprentices. We've got Mark, who's a big Kiwi fella from up Auckland way. He's an ex-rigger scaffolder, and he used to be out on the offshore, and then he was doing FIFO all through Western Australia. Take him onto a construction or mine site, and he knows people, and he's a massive big moody fella, and he's got one of the biggest hearts you'll ever meet in your life. He's awesome, an absolute gem.
Awesome culture.
It is. And then
it's awesome.
Oh yeah, it's so cool, isn't it? I believe that it's just that connection to people and connection to land really, really helps as well. So then with them, and then we've got Gordon, who's South African, who used to be in the South African military, and he spent years doing mining. He's came on board 6 months ago.
Is he a tough bugger?
He is, and his nickname is the Sarge. Yeah. So when he speaks, you listen. I like him as boss, but when he tells me, I listen to him. So sorry, Gordon. Yes, Gordon. And then we've got S. S is a local boy here, and he's big into his fitness and stuff like that as well. He worked at FIFO in the fitness camps. He's been with us 6 months as well, and he's just bringing a load of energy. Like I've got a lot of energy. His is just bringing up another level, which is pretty cool to see. He's got good energy. Then we've got Mitch. Mitch has been with us 12 months, and he came from a background he was actually a primary school teacher, and he's like, yeah, I don't like this, so I'm done. So then he got a job working FIFO, and he's a persistent little bugger. He rang years ago asking for a job. He said, I don't have anything, bud. And he said, but keep my phone number on your phone and ring me every few months. And he just kept doing it. And then last August, whatever it was, he rang me and he goes, do you want any jobs? And I goes, if I get one live, apply for it. And he got the gig from it. And then we've got Helen. So Helen used to be a chaplain, and she used to work FIFO in chaplaincy. She's from New Zealand. She used to be in the Australian Navy. Wow. And then we've got Robin. Helen's doing a great job. Loves the mining industry. Very, very confident, beautiful person. And then we've got Robin, who's from an English lady, who's from the construction industry. Spent years with a major commercial builder here. She's been with 6 months this week. Happy birthday, Robin. And she just brings a heap of empathy. This is one of the biggest hearts, like, close to the big Kiwi fella, Mark. To him, it's just a beautiful team. It's just an absolute truckload of team. So those guys, if they're not delivering training sessions, they do site visits, which is popping into construction and mining companies or projects or whatever it is, just saying good day and just normalizing that our help and support is there in the background, which is really cool.
So they'd be there getting these real conversations
all day. We would have absolute truckloads of them to give to you. But the one that, like, for me personally, what stands out for me is when I first started with mates 8.5 years ago. We used to be based in East Perth on Royal Street, and it was a Friday afternoon, and I was the only one left in the office. I had still had my training wheels on. I was brand new, still nervous, trying to get my head around the role and stuff like that. But my mobile phone rang, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know this number." And it's like, "Oh, Damo, I got your phone number from such and such." And he goes, "I'm struggling." I was like, "Oh, showtime." And I've got nobody here to lean on. I've got no one. So all good. I went out the front on Royal Street, and that's when I was smoking at the time because I was so nervous. I was walking up and down, talking to this person, but I was smoking ciggies, just ripping ciggies. And I was up and down, chatting away, and I'd done a full suicide intervention. He had a plan to end his life that night. When his wife and daughter went to the park. Once they went to the park, he was going to end his life. So,
at the house.
Yeah, at the back in the shed.
That's a struggle for me.
Mm.
So, I mean, he's in this dark place, right?
Yeah.
And he's planning to end his life.
Yeah.
And his family's going to find him.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the mindset where you've had some tough times? I've had some tough times, but never ever once have I ever thought that my life would be worth ending.
Yeah. It's quite
Have you ever, before you go on to this story, I just, that's always something for me that, look, if I was to be honest,
yep.
And I do know some people who have committed suicide,
yep.
and one relatively recently, a few months ago, and it was a girl that I would never, if you lined up 100 people that I know, it wouldn't have been her. I didn't know her all that well.
Yep.
We trained together at the gym. We were, workout partners on a Saturday. And she'd been, every time we caught up, she was always telling me about these cool things. Loved her cat, all these cool things that she was doing with her life.
Yep.
Her partner was FIFO, and then she was about to do all these great things. And then Rowan, who you met earlier, he called me up and said, "Have you heard about this person?" And then he told me. I said, "Absolutely not, mate. No. It had to be a car accident. She was always going down to Margaret River, going down, hanging out with her friends, wine tasting, this great time." Yep. And then boom, gone.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. I struggle with it. I don't know. I just couldn't. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I've just never had the thought. Have you?
Yeah. Well, people will argue that I've had. I had no clear wish today. In 2010, I had an absolute shocker of a couple of months. I had a load of friends just passed away on me. So one of them was my best mate. And that was my first time back in Ireland after 3.5, 4 years. And he came to Australia with me, and he's like another brother in our house. And he passed away. He was 24 years of age and dropped dead with a heart attack. So I did working for my father, driving a dumper. So I did. So that was my first time home in 3.5 years, was for his funeral. I struggled with that. And then a couple of weeks after that, when I returned back, I got the phone call that another friend had passed away in Melbourne in a head-on traffic accident. I was a drunk driver. He was coming home from work, and there was a drunk driver coming the opposite direction, fell asleep, and unfortunately he passed away. And then a couple of weeks after that, another friend died in England in a hit and run.
That's a tough
accident.
trot.
So just one after another. And I remember somebody said to me, that because I grew up with a religious background, so I did, and there's still a bit of faith, Catholic. So
Catholic,
it was,
sorry, mate. Shit, don't bloody bob me car.
Nah, you're all good. You're all right. You're off the hook this time, all right. So and that faith is still in there somewhere. So it is. And I remember somebody told me after those people passed away, maybe God needed new angels.
Maybe.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And I say, come on, give me a chance, and at least give me a couple of months between them, not a couple of weeks. But anyway, I struggled with that, and every weekend I was drinking, fighting, and getting arrested nearly every weekend. Just didn't care. I had pressed the self-destruct button. So I had walked into a pub And I'd pick the biggest person in the pub and say, yep, I'll have you tonight.
You're
I'll have
not
a
the
crack."
biggest person in the
No,
pub.
I'm not. I am nowhere near it. But I just didn't care. I just really, really didn't care. And I was leaving it up to fate. So some people will argue that probably was suicide ideation, that risky behaviour and stuff like that. You could argue that. But I had no clear wish today. I just didn't care what happened. So I never had a clear wish, but I just didn't care back then either. And from it, I learned from all that as well.
Yeah, I don't think I personally have no idea
Yep.
about what goes through someone's mind before, during,
Yep.
obviously nothing after.
Yeah, and
But-
you'll see there's actually loads of research done all over the world. And there's some locally, it was one of the local hospitals, that the majority of people who attempted suicide and survived, they actually done research and questioned them about, what was going on, what was happening. And
Did they regret it in those last moments before whatever?
Yeah, and what they said was they didn't want to die. They just wanted the pain to stop, the pain of living to stop, but they did not want to die.
So it's mental health.
Yeah. So what are they? Well, not so much mental health. So suicide ideation doesn't mean that you got a mental illness or whatever. You're just in pain. You're in so much pain. It could be mental or emotional pain. You just want it to stop. And I remember I was doing
physical pain.
Could be physical pain, and it's going to be. And this is the thing with suicide, is such a interesting thing. It's an individual journey. So what you go through could cause you stress, but it mightn't cause me stress. And what I go through could cause me stress, but it mightn't cause you stress. So suicide is an individual journey, and each person's journey differs in length. And think of it as a river. So down at the end of the river, you've got a waterfall, whereas suicide, that's death. That's where that takes place. Up at this top end, you've got a reservoir wall, and then the other side of the reservoir wall, you've got little streams coming in. That's life, that's finances, that's relationships, that's work, that's pressure, whatever. They're hitting these streams are hitting the reservoir wall. If you don't keep that reservoir wall structurally sound, those streams are going to end up in the river. All right. So that's your wall of resilience. That reservoir is your wall of resilience. If you don't put things in place like self-care, like catching up with your mates, going to the gym, looking after yourself, healthy eating, or whatever it is, whatever works for you, if you don't practice those, that wall of resilience will slowly chip away, and those streams will end up in the river. So if you're at the top of the river and there's suicide at the end of the river, your river could be a lot longer than mine. Mine could be a short river. There's an individual journey. It's an individual journey. So just because you're in that river doesn't mean you're going to die by suicide, because you've still got a chance to get out of that river. And you've got people, that's where our program comes in, where we've got like lifeguards walking along the river. It's like, oh, there's somebody in that river.
I like that.
Let's get them out of that river. Same as a lifeguard in a swimming pool. A lifeguard see somebody drowning in a swimming pool. What's their job? Get them out, provide CPR, call emergency services. The people who we train is, you see somebody in the river, get them out, do a suicide intervention, get them professional help, get them psychologists, counsellors, psychotherapists, get them community support, whatever it is, get them out into professional services. So they've got that whole opportunity before they get to the very end where that waterfall is, where that suicide is going to take place, to get them out of that river.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's I mean, each person is individual and their journey is individual as well. So that's why I can't comment on anybody
For sure.
what they're going through, because it's an individual story.
Mate,
Getting back to your question, the real conversations. So that person had a plan to end his life that night when his partner and his daughter was over in the park. So I done a suicide intervention on him, done a full-blown suicide intervention. So you learn these skills in the training that we offer the industry, how to do a suicide intervention. So I done that on Friday afternoon, and I was comfortable going into the weekend that part of the safety plan, he had supports in place if these thoughts of suicide came back. He could ring our 24-hour support number, and he was going to reach out to friends and families and practice a bit of self-care over the weekend. And on the Monday morning, one of our case managers was going to touch base with them. So I was comfortable. I was okay with that. I was like, yep, this is a solid safety plan that I've put in place. You do a safety plan on a suicide intervention. You put things in place to get them into safety, and that's what I had done. And I was comfortable going into the weekend. So Monday morning I came back to work. And one of our case managers picked up the case, and her name was Peter. She was an amazing case manager for us, Peter Miller. So she picked up the case, but we had to do a site visit, like a house visit. We had to go visit this person. So we've got policies in place, how you do a home visit. Like, we had rang the person, he was good for us to come out. The reason why we had to do the home visit was because he was minding his daughter, so he couldn't take the daughter with him. So he was in a lot better spot when Peter was talking to him. But anyway, we followed our policies and procedures, our safety ones around. It's like park in certain directions, check in, check out, and stuff like that. So I actually went with Peter. So went and met this person, knocked on his door. We went in. Peter introduced herself, and then I introduced myself. I said, "Oh, Damo, thanks for chatting to me the other day." As soon as he heard my accent, he broke down into tears, crying.
Oh, mate, I feel a little bit emotional hearing that myself.
And he goes, "Oh, you kept me alive over the weekend." And he was bawling his eyes out, and his little 4-year-old daughter came running around the corner. And she goes, "Oh, Daddy, you're being a sook again." And she laughed and giggled and ran away. And he started laughing. He goes, "I'm still alive for her." So anyway, that was all good. Peter kicked into gear and done our case management side of things, got the support, Last Christmas, just December gone there, 2025. So that happened in 2017, that interaction. I was on a construction project, and I was doing a pre-Christmas toolbox talk about, can mean different things for different people, done my toolbox talk, and I was walking around all the workers and was giving out pens and doing all this type of stuff. So it was a group of guys standing over to the corner. One of the fellas was sitting down having a tin of soft drink, and he goes, I was handing him a pen, he goes, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I goes, I do remember you.
Wow.
And he stood up and he goes, "Guys, come in here." And he goes, "If it wasn't for him in 2017, I wouldn't be alive."
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome story,
Isn't
mate.
it? Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Well done.
all our guys have got like heaps of these things. So that one story means I've done my
I can
job.
see that means something to you. I like that. That's a good story.
Good, isn't it? So
Yeah,
that
that's
one
awesome.
story, I've done my job. I've done my job. And that's where I mean that.
So I don't think you need to put too much pressure on yourself. Maybe you, just from seeing you before where you were saying, I've caused suicides. You haven't caused suicides. You might have been a dick. Everyone's a dick. But yeah, I wouldn't carry that. You made some silly mistakes. You spoke to people poorly. Everyone spoke to people poorly. Yeah. But you're a bloody nice guy, Damo.
Good on you, Josh. Yeah,
I'll give you a good Google review now, before we bloody both start crying. Mate, look, I've got here, you talk a lot about mates looking out for mates.
Yep.
Right, it's very important. That's probably, I share all my bloody feelings and thoughts with all of my friends. They fucking hate it. Have a few bloody gin and tonics on a Saturday or a Sunday somewhere and tell them my life story from the week before or, whatever it is. But it is good having, you've got to have good mates around you. So what does that mean to you? Good people. And what does that mean for mates in mining?
Yeah, so once again, that's how we aim to do ourselves out of a job. By empowering the industry. We would love to get out to every single construction and mine site in Western Australia, even Australia, New Zealand and United States. It's physically not possible. Say we run a very small team, but an effective team. That's where we empower the industry to leave it in a better place than we found it. That's how we want to make ourselves redundant by giving the skills to the industry. The core of the Mates program, the motto that we follow is mates helping mates. If your ute broke down at the front, like if there was a truck today had a broken clutch and you had to go fix a truck with a broken clutch.
I didn't fix it.
You didn't fix it?
I just picked it up from the blokes who fixed it.
Oh, right. Oh, so, but that's so you would ring it. One of your mates would come along and help you do that.
That's exactly right.
So this is the exact same.
One of my other mates blew the clutch up.
So you helped your mate?
Yeah, I helped him. And then my other mate helped me.
Yep, there you go. That's mates helping mates. So it is. That's the same as our program. That if somebody's struggling, like we should be allowed to turn around and have these healthy conversations. I had to bust up with my partner at the weekend and I'm sitting pretty heavy. Can we go have a coffee? Can we go have a chat and go have a yarn? Yeah, of course. Damo, it looks like you're doing it a bit tough at the minute and you're saying a few things and you say, what's going on? You all right? So have just mates helping mates, having those healthy conversations because we spend more time at work than we do at home with our loved ones. When you introduce FIFO, like as Rowan just said earlier, he's there 2 weeks. So that's a lot of time away from your friends.
I couldn't do it. Two young boys. I got two young boys, 50-50 shared custody. Far out. I'm fanging to get home to see them,
Yeah. So that type of stuff. So if we can empower the industry just to have those healthy conversations, to check on our mate if they're doing it tough, to look in on a loved one, look in on their mates and have those healthy conversations, there's nothing wrong with it. You would help a mate with that broken clutch. You should be allowed to help your mate if they're struggling.
Bloody oath. Mate, what's the next step for mates in mining?
Global takeover.
Domination.
Yes, with a big Norwegian in the top of it, Jørgen Gullstrap. He's going to be there for years. Now, cool. Look, it's industry support. We don't charge for what we do. Yeah. It's funded by the Mars program in mining. It's funded by the construction training fund in the construction industry. we're not asking you for money. We want time. That's what it is. Get us on board and across Australia and New Zealand. Get us in. Right?
Do you have do you have any mine sites calling you up and saying, hey, listen, come out, or do you have to?
That's how it works. We only come by invitation only.
So you don't have anyone calling up different mining companies and saying, hey, listen.
Would you like to get on board? Nah. So they come to us.
Oh, cool.
They come to us because we do not force our way onto job sites or mine sites or companies. We do not use blackmail. We don't do anything we don't take the moral high ground or anything like that. Companies have to be ready to engage us, and they have to want to support their guys on the ground. And the way it works is that first stage of our program is 45 minutes. The 4-hour training is, we would recommend 1 per 20 people do that 4-hour training. That works out to be 57 minutes per person, and companies still won't get us on board. It doesn't cost any money. It takes 57 minutes to save somebody's life, and companies still aren't getting on board. Something's wrong. So what my goal is, once again, not to have a job, that there's organizations like us is not needed.
You'll always be needed.
Look,
you'll always be needed.
That's the utopia. But I remember there's a bloke used to work with us, Sean Brady, and he was absolutely amazing. Me and him used to talk leadership talks and stuff like that, the books that we used to read, and we used to bounce off each other. And he was asking me years ago, probably I knew him 2018, I met him. So shortly after, and he asked me, he goes, what do you think, Damien? Where do you want to go? Where do you want this mates to be? And I goes, we've always got a big, hairy, audacious goal. The BHAG, the big, massive goal. And I remember saying to him in 2020, before he started with us, I said, I'd love to go to the States and give us a crack. We're there. Type thing. We're across all of Australia. We're in New Zealand. I said, I'd love to go back over to the motherland, back to Ireland, and deliver a training session over there. That'd be pretty cool. But for us is...
Well, COVID stopped you in Europe, in England.
Yeah.
So
we'll go to America first. There's a couple of billion people. There's 5 million in Ireland, but we'll get there step by step. But that type of stuff is... people still aren't... companies, organisations still aren't getting on board with it.
Yeah, okay.
People are struggling. We're losing somebody across Australia every 2.5 hours to suicide. There's an attempted suicide about every 5 minutes. Last year in Australia, there was 3,214 reported suicides. Suicides goes misreported or underreported by a minimum of 20%. So it's 2.5 hours there's a suicide across Australia.
Wow, I didn't realise you were going to be coming in with facts and figures.
You didn't ask.
I know. I know. I didn't even have that.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware. I've actually sat down and spoken to people before, and the answer that I've got is they didn't have those facts and figures.
Yeah, that's
so a suicide attempt every 2.5 or suicide.
Somebody dying by suicide every 3,214 reported suicide. That works out to be somebody dying by suicide every about 2.5, 2.6 hours, 2.5 hours. So there's 9 people a day in Australia is dying by suicide. The reported suicides, 3/4 of those are men.
Is a quarter?
3/4.
3/4.
75% are men.
What? Why do you think predominantly men?
So you heard what I told you earlier when I was going through that crap as well. Drink, fight, carry on like a peanut. And I remember when I was in the pub,
that's sad.
When I in 2010, when I was really struggling, one of my best mates turned around and said to me, goes, Damo, you've been through a fair bit. You've been through a lot. How you coping with this? And I started to tear up. And I was not good. And I could see the absolute fear and panic in his face. He did not know what to do next. And I don't blame him. I just sucked it up. And I goes, not all good. Let's go grab a beer. And then I remember getting arrested that night again. So there's that lack of education. And that was where he was at. There was a lack of education in that spot. And I don't blame him. And I never will. There's a lack of education. So we need to...
there's a lack of education for you when you bloody had that churn in your gut and you sent that bloke out the door.
So we need to empower our community, especially the blokes in our community, to have those simple conversations. If your clutch went in your truck, calling a mate. Why can't you call a mate if you're having a bust up with your partner? Why can't you call your mate if you're having a shocker? So
what you're saying is the reason that's predominantly men is because men are too tough on themselves, or men are too hard, or men are...
And even just what community and society says as well. Men don't cry and all that. A load of crap, a load of nonsense. You say I've near cried 3 times in the space of an hour.
Yeah, I've shed a few tears from bloody time to time, that's for sure. Wow, that's shocking. I didn't know those figures.
Those 9 people a day. It's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen the next day. It doesn't get an RDO. Doesn't get an annual leave. That's 9 empty seats at a dining table across Australia today.
You look at it like that, that's pretty bloody shocking.
Isn't it? And you think if there was nine shark attacks a day in Australia, what would you hear?
Oh, mate, there'd be bloody drum lines as far as the eye could see. You know, there'd be no sharks left in the bloody ocean.
Yeah, and then going back to what your question said, it was about like what's next.
Yeah.
People, ring us, call us, get support, get us out to do your training, get to train your guys. Let us educate.
Hopefully, there's some mining companies that see this, or people that are working on working for mining companies.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost any money. Say we don't want money, we want the people on the ground. Yeah,
time. That's impressive.
And it was just recently we finished a big rollout with a mining company. I'm not going to say its name. We trained hundreds and hundreds of people, but there was a massive part of the crew that didn't attend, and it was the production crew.
That's always the case. That's always the same. Maintenance, you know, like you can put some PMs on hold.
Yeah,
you can get them through.
Yeah,
but production, you know, the mining companies say production or safety over production.
Yeah,
until there's a stop in production, and then it's production over safety. Not all the time, but that gets thrown around in the industry quite often, doesn't it? Yeah.
So that's all we want, just industry support, and this is. I'm going to acknowledge this as well. There's a very common myth out there in our community that people think we are part of the workers' union. All right, we are not.
That's it. I didn't think that.
Yeah. People think we're a part of the union. We're not. All right, we are fiercely independent. How the Mates program was started.
The bloody unions haven't really been well received recently, have they? Some have gone into liquidation over east. The WA one. Yeah. Some of them were involved in bikies. I don't actually want to say fucking bikies. Yeah, because I don't want anyone to burn this bloody joint down.
Yeah, no, but that type of stuff, look, they've got their place in the industry, and some people will argue, do they do it the right way? Some yes, some no, and look, that's it's an individual thing, and I don't get into any of that because we sit in the middle. So we're just like Switzerland in the whole piece. You've got the union one side, you got non-union the other side. The beauty of our program is, and what we do is. Both sides of that fence, they believe in what we do and they support us. The union has got thousands upon thousands of members, and they open doors for us and they tell us, crack on, do your jobs, go support our members. The non-union side of things, they're saying, like, no, well, you've got a heap of workers here that's struggling. Open the door and crack on and do your job. So
that's awesome.
They both believe in what we do and they let us do our job, which is pretty good. Yeah. But I just thought I'd dispel this myth. That we are not part of the workers' union. We're fiercely independent, and we pride ourselves on our independence as well. We don't colour what shirt you're wearing. If you're struggling, we will help you.
Beautiful, mate. We finish every episode with we want some great advice that we can pass on to our viewers. So if you've got some great advice that you've been given, you've received it out in the industry, and you think it would be great to throw it back out there where it belongs. What have we got?
I don't know if it's great advice, but it's actually one of my values is do the right thing.
I like that.
Yeah, nice and simple. Just when you're talking to people, do the right thing. If you see somebody struggling, do the right thing. You see somebody broke down beside the road, do the right thing. You see a piece of litter, do the right thing.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's just like simple, and I say when you asked me that question, when you told me that was coming up, I would just stick to my values. Just do the right thing.
It's bloody good. Well, Damo, thanks very much for coming in and spending the time, mate. This is it's going to be a longer episode for us, but we covered some ground, mate. You're very knowledgeable. I'm rapt that we have people like you in the industry, in the mining industry, because those facts, those figures are very confronting.
Yep.
The whole suicide thing, and the way YouTube works is as soon as you say suicide, as we were saying earlier, we push this live into YouTube, YouTube just shuts it down.
Yep.
So anyone who watches this episode, I do hope that if they know someone who is struggling, or people or groups or whoever at the health and safety department pushes this out there, or even shares a little snippet of it and says, have a look at this, because you're bloody knowledgeable. You're a top-notch guy who I think you put a little bit too much bloody pressure on yourself previously, but you're a really nice guy. I'm glad you're there for the industry.
Good on you. And it's not just me. I'm grateful.
One man, but you're leading the charge, and you've got a great team behind you, so that's awesome.
They're doing the work. They're beautiful people, so
awesome. Well, mate, thank you very much for coming in.
And just one last thing: if anybody out there is struggling, you're not alone. We care about you. We love you and want to help you. Please give us a call, 1300-642-111.
Awesome. Thanks, Damo. Well, thank you very much for tuning into this heartfelt episode. If you know anyone who is struggling, if you're struggling yourself, jump on and get in contact with Mates in Mining. Thanks for watching.